Donald Trump's administration is swirling the drain concerning a new corruption scandal. And we're only 4 weeks in, this time about Mayor Adams of New York and an unholy deal struck by the Department of Justice under Donald Trump and Mayor Adams. It's going to lead likely to Mayor Adams no longer being Mayor Adams. Question is Judge Ho in New York going to go along with the ride? Or is he going to use a rare power of a federal judge, an inherent authority of a federal judge, to appoint a special prosecutor because he finds the Department of Justice under Donald Trump so conflicted, so ethically challenged, so corrupt that he can't trust them? I'm Michael Popak. You're on the Midas Touch Network and Legal AF. Let's get to it. We had a lot of teachable moments so far in the Trump administration as it relates to Eric Adams. I guess Donald Trump thought maybe the long weekend, it would all go away, this bad nightmare of his own creation to force his Department of Justice, led by apparently Emil Bove, Donald Trump's former criminal lawyer, to strike a deal with the lawyer for Eric Adams, the embattled mayor who was indicted for his own corruption scandal, and enter a deal to ensure Mayor Adams would dismantle the immigration policy of New York, would dismantle its sanctuary city status, and do the bidding of Donald Trump on his immigration policies. In return, his indictment would magically disappear, except it really wouldn't, except it would be temporarily suspended. And that's what Danielle Sassoon, the acting interim U.S. attorney from Manhattan, all hot and bothered. She's an arch conservative. She's a federalist. And she said, enough is enough. I can't do it. My power, my authority, my constitutional oath says I can't dismiss this case as directed because of the deal that was struck. They didn't, by the way, just to show you this is an amateur hour in the Trump administration, they didn't need to announce the deal. The fact that they were so cocky that they thought they could just announce, we're going to cut a deal with Adams. He's going to enforce our immigration policies the way we say so. We're going to say jump. He's going to say how high. And in return, we're going to dangle the indictment dismissal kind of in front of him. They didn't have to do that. They don't have to have a justification. I mean, they got to file something in the papers that go to Judge Ho. And the question is Judge Dale Ho appointed by Joe Biden, right, who had a leading job with the American Civil Liberties Union as a civil rights lawyer with the NAACP, is Dale Ho, a liberal, a dyed-in-the-wool liberal who came out of the world of public interest groups like the ACLU and NAACP. Is he just going to let the case be dismissed against Eric Adams on a ridiculous grounds? They didn't need grounds at all. They could have just said, we found it would be in the interest of justice for the indictment to be dismissed, and left it at that. But no, they felt someone in that administration, Pam Bondi maybe, she's too smart by half. I'm tired of reading these articles about Kamala Harris's word salads at a Broadway show. What about Pam Bondi? She's the attorney general. You think we're watching Clear Thinking? You think we're watching a syntax that's actually sizzling about legal positions? We're not. They could have just done that, but somebody had the great idea. We'll just say the quiet part out loud. We're cutting a quid pro quo deal. Okay, now all roads lead where? To the federal judge. Now, normally, traditionally, in 99.9% of the time, a federal judge does not have inherent authority to do anything except dismiss an indictment when asked to do so by the executive branch. That's how our separation of powers works. That's how our checks and balance work. Prosecutions are the province of the executive branch, headed by one person, the President of the United States. Department of Justice, executive branch. Prosecution, executive branch. Grand juries, part of the process, but they report to the executive branch. A judge, once there is an indictment or about those mechanics, has a role. But 99.9% of the time, that role does not include anything about an indictment, except there is precedent that I'm going to suggest from 1987, Young versus U.S. Vuitton, that I think could stand for the proposition that a judge under these unique circumstances could, instead of dismiss the indictment, appoint a special prosecutor. We're back to special prosecutors, not one through the attorney general. We know we'll never see that, but one appointed by a federal judge who believes there is monkey business going on. That's a term of art in our profession. There's monkey business going on with an ethics scandal around the trade-off quid pro quo commercial transaction between Donald Trump and Eric Adams. It stinks. It stinks to high heaven. That's where a federal judge can use their inherent authority under the Young case from 1987. Now, that case dealt with what happens if a judge finds somebody in contempt, and for whatever reason, political probably, the executive branch won't prosecute it. That goes to the inherent authority of a judge. When a judge says something like, you need to do this, comply with my order, I'll find you in contempt. It's got to have teeth behind it. So that's what's going to happen here. When, just as an aside, when Donald Trump starts flouting the rules and doesn't comply with these 20 or 25 preliminary injunctions and other court orders, and they just thumb their nose at it, what is a federal judge to do? I said they're going to need like constables. They're going to have to deputize law enforcement outside of the feds, outside of the executive branch. But what they can also do, and they're allowed to do under this Young case, is they're allowed to appoint a special prosecutor not under the executive branch Department of Justice. And that's what I believe they'll do here. So I am urging Dale Ho, who is the right person for this job, to stand up. Right now is time. Now is the time, as Judge Kofodor said in Seattle 3 weeks ago. We want history to look back. We don't want them to say, where were the judges and where were the lawyers? Where was Judge Ho? Use your inherent authority. Don't dismiss the indictment. Instead, appoint a special prosecutor under your inherent authority of the Young precedent case from 1987. Make them look into this unholy deal, this quid pro quo, this transactional of the most scandalous between the Trump administration and Eric Adams, and have this special prosecutor report to you, not to the Department of Justice, which is conflicted, which is ethically challenged, which is corrupt. That is what should happen. So we all got excited about whether Eric Adams is going to resign today or not, because 4 of his deputy mayors, including the first deputy mayor, basically the co-mayor, all resigned because, of course, Eric Adams and the Trump administration are too smart by half. They thought, well, we'll cut a deal publicly, and you'll do my immigration bidding, and I'll let you off the hook, sort of, kind of. But if you screw up again, I'm going to re-indict you. No. No, you got a federal judge as the last remaining firewall. And I wanted to kind of bring this to your attention because I think this is what could happen. Now, Governor Hochul has to make her decision. Is she going to take out what she's allowed to do, this corrupted, conflicted mayor? Just based on this deal, she doesn't have to make a call about whether he is or isn't guilty of what he's been indicted for. The acceptance of foreign campaign donations from Turkey, the bribes that are alleged, the fraud that's alleged, the new charges that the department wanted to bring but isn't going to bring. See, that's another ground for Judge Ho to step in, because Danielle Sassoon, the departing acting interim U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, wrote in her 9-page letter that they were about to indict Eric Adams again. They sought permission from Washington, from the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi. No, I mean under Donald Trump. And they said, no, you're not going to indict him, even though you have evidence of lying to the FBI. You have evidence of destroying evidence. Judge Ho has to protect the criminal justice system from this criminal president. He has to protect the criminal justice system, because the public will have, if they haven't already, lost all confidence in it. This is the way to reinstall it. This is the way to instill it. And I'm going to continue to follow it. You're here on the Midas Touch Network. We have a new channel, Legal AF. It's not so new. It's 5 months old. Maybe you missed the early build of the Midas Touch Network, already at 4 million, right? I was there from the beginning, but maybe you weren't. Here's your chance to help build a new channel from scratch, right? It's $1 and a dream. We're over on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Help us get to 500,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1 million in our first 8 months, 500,000 in our first 6 months, and we're almost there. With your help, we will get there. Follow me, Michael Popak, on Legal AF. Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And wherever you get your podcast audio from, I got a new podcast, Popak Live, Tuesday night, 45 minutes to an hour. It's like this, except longer. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popak.